Hey friends, thanks for checking in. Today we want to know why build this when you can build this. We're going to show you a simple, compact, all-in-one farm that has us chugging out kelp, dried kelp, bone meal, bamboo, and sugarcane at rates that are going to make your AFK farms blush. Parts of this build are covered in other videos that we have, and if you're looking for one part in particular, check out the chapter links in the description below. If you want this farm without the hassle of building it, there's a link in the description for our Telegram group where we keep all of our world files. So click that link, join our Telegram group, and you'll have access to this farm as well as other farms we've done in tutorials so far. We don't want you to miss out on any of the fun that we've got planned. So subscribe to our channel, type in Ramarin Plays on these socials, and we hope to see you for the next video. This farm will work if you already have a no-tick kelp farm. Just start in the next chapter with the Bonemeal Switch. We're going to start by building ourselves a 9x11 platform, and we're putting ours 9 blocks above the ground level. You could dig out an 11x11 hole if you wanted to do this at ground level. Count in 2 blocks from the back side and 2 blocks from the left, and lay a row of 8 solid blocks. On top of each of those, you're going to put 1 sticky piston, and then skip a space and another 8 solid blocks in front of that, and slap a piece of sand on each one of those. Now you're going to place solid block all around this build just like this, and an extra row of solid block on the back side where you're going to place regular pistons, and then another row of solid block on top of the regular pistons. Now we're going to add another row of solid block on the platform, and we're going to build a ticking clock. Place 3 solid blocks like this, a redstone torch on the front of the bottom block, a repeater on top of the bottom block, place a lever on the front, and 2 pieces of redstone on the back side. That should make it start ticking, and you can go ahead and turn it off. Now on the back side, we're going to place 8 solid blocks just below those pistons, a piece of redstone dust on each of those, and a piece of redstone dust in the corner to connect them to the clock. You'll hear the piston arms extend, and you can place a piece of sand on each of those. Place a row of temporary blocks like this, and we're going to use those to place the hoppers, which will point straight down, and then you can remove those temporary blocks. Now use glass blocks to enclose this top portion. You're going to start right outside of the hoppers. Moving to the back side of the build, we're going to place a solid block here and a redstone torch on top of that, another solid block, and then a row of solid blocks on the back side of those top pistons. Now take your redstone dust, and we're going to connect the solid blocks on top of the build to the row of solid blocks you just placed behind the pistons. Now you can place 1 water source block on each of the 8 solid blocks and plant your kelp. We're planting the kelp before we connect all of the redstone on the back so that the kelp will grow properly for this farm. Now you can place another redstone torch and another solid block, and that will complete the redstone circuit for the pistons. Now you're going to place trapdoors on the top portion of those solid blocks on the back of the build. Now you can turn on your farm and make sure that it's working properly. If it doesn't, back up, slow down, and do it exactly like we did it, and it should work. One thing to note is that if one of your kelp breaks, turn the machine off before you replant it. Now place a double chest at each of those hoppers, and it's ready for the Bonemeal Switch. We'll start this portion by removing that platform. Place 2 solid blocks down and 1 to the side, and that's where our new platform is going to be for the Bonemeal Switch. So we're going to start with a row of hoppers pointing straight down, and then a row of hoppers that point over to that solid block. Place composters on the outside row of hoppers. Build out 2 blocks and up 3, and then 7 blocks down to the end of the build. This will allow us to place sticky pistons in the position right over those composters. Now add 1 more row of hoppers pointing straight down from the double chest into the composter, and a line of redstone dust along the back side of those sticky pistons, and a lever on the end. 1 last row of hoppers going straight down into the first row of hoppers. That's going to connect the adjustable hopper over to the hoppers that will send kelp down to the Supersmelter below. Add a double chest here, and that will take the bone meal off to the rest of the build. Now we're going to adapt our Supersmelter design and use smokers instead of furnaces. We need to line up just behind the first piston, so drop straight down and place a solid block where you land. Then place another solid block on top of that one and 3 solid blocks behind those. Now place a regular piston in this position and 7 smokers on that piston. Line up on the block just outside of that last smoker and place a solid block and a piston facing up. We're going to get rid of these blocks to free up some space, and we'll have 4 smokers total going in the upward direction. Then we'll just finish off this 4x7 block rectangle of smokers. Now place an observer in this position facing the smoker and a piston on top of the observer so that it faces the smokers. Take out the solid block that you used to place the piston and put it behind the observer with a piece of redstone dust. Now we're going to stay on that side but go down to the lower corner, and we're going to dig a little hole so that we can place an observer with the butt pointing down. Place a solid block to fill in that hole just under the observer and 2 pieces of redstone dust to connect the observer to the piston. Now we're going to go back over to where we started and place an observer like this, with a piece of redstone dust behind it, and we're going to add 2 solid blocks and place another observer so that it reads that redstone dust. Now 1 more piston and observer to complete this slice. Place a solid block coming down from the platform right above the smokers, and use that block to place a piston so that it pushes down. Now we need an observer right next to this piston with a butt pointing up, so you can knock out one of those blocks. This one's a bit tricky to place. Just crouch and jump and place at the same time. And then a piece of redstone dust on top of the observer as well as the piston. Now we're going to fill in the smoker that we took out to place that piston and knock out the corner one. The only corner smoker that should be in place is the one on the bottom right next to the ignition. Now back over to this end, we're going to add a lever, and that's going to be the brake system. Now to start this Supersmelter, we add a block in front of the ignition observer. I'm going to give your ears a rest and just let you watch how we duplicate this module to finish up the Supersmelter. Now there's only one part left, and that's adding the bamboo and sugarcane module. We're going to make a 9x9 platform starting right underneath that double chest. Break out these blocks and we're going to add a dispenser and some hoppers coming from the bone meal chest over to the dispenser. Place a dispenser in this position and break out the block in front of it. Then we're going to place 2 hoppers going into that dispenser, and then a hopper from the double chest into the other hopper. Add a piston to the side so that it pushes over the space in front of the dispenser. And we're going to make the same ticking clock that we made on the side of the kelp farm. Now we're going to run redstone dust from our ticking clock forward 2 spaces and left 1. And then we're going to place a solid block with a redstone torch and another solid block on top of that. Add a solid block behind the piston and a redstone dust on top of that. Now run some redstone dust over to the dispenser. And flip that switch just to make sure everything is working properly. Now pop down this hole and stack up so that you can place a block of dirt right in front of the dispenser. Knock out these blocks, pop down in the hole, and knock out 1, 2, 3 of the solid blocks and build a little 2x2 platform and place a double chest there. Now we need a hopper going straight down into the left side of this chest. Next we're going to stack up a couple blocks and place a rail and then a minecart hopper. If you can, get rid of the rail so that it doesn't move around. Now if you're not going to do sugarcane, you can skip this part. We'll add an extra hopper going into the one below, and we'll place a water source into that hopper, and that will allow us to grow sugarcane and also to catch the sugarcane because it tends to be a little bit messier. Last thing to do here is just close this up with some solid block and some glass in the front. Take care of your water leaking problem by adding some solid blocks around the hoppers down below. And there we have a fully functioning all-in-one kelp farm, doing everything from dry kelp blocks to sugarcane and bamboo. And overall, this is just a really satisfying farm to have around. As always, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate the support, and we can't wait to see what you think of this one.